My dad basically ordered me to attend my older brother's big art show, said if I didn't show up, he'd cut me off. The irony? They don't know I left their strings behind a long time ago. I've built a six-figure tech career from scratch, doing my own thing, with zero help from them. As I stand in my sleek apartment in downtown Seattle, my phone buzzes again. The name flashing on the screen, Eddie, my older brother. That's his sixth call today. I let it go to voicemail, ignoring it like the others, and watch the rain trickle down the tall glass windows. This city, with its quiet hum and gray reflection, feels like a universe apart from the dusty trailer in Nevada I escaped at 19. Now I'm 30, working as a software developer with all the financial security I could ever need. But in their heads, I'm still some insignificant afterthought, the one who's supposed to dutifully follow orders. The voicemail icon flashes on the screen. I roll my eyes and hit play, already bracing for the incoming drama. Bailey, it's Dad, his voice grates through. He slips right into that tone, the commanding one that takes me back. Eddie's gallery opening is next week. You will be there to support him, or don't expect another dime from us for that fancy life of yours. I snort, laughing low and bitter. They think they still have a hold on me, dangling their money like it's the only thing keeping me afloat. Joke's on them. I walked away from that lifeline years ago. Everything I have is mine, earned through long nights, relentless work, and a hell of a lot of determination they never cared to notice. I grab my steaming mug of coffee, and the warmth fights the cold knot that's tightening in my stomach. An email pings on my laptop, interrupting the silence. I glance over. Your brother's art show is our family's pride. Be there, or you are out. Of course, it's from Dad. Caps lock and all, loaded with guilt trips like always. I try to shake it off, but it all comes rushing back. The old buried ache. The memories. Eddie's hastily drawn stick figures would get a place of honor on the fridge. Meanwhile, my perfect report cards? Left to yellow in some forgotten drawer. My eyes stray to my degree sitting on my bookshelf. Bailey Michelle Graves, Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science, magna cum laude. I keep it tucked behind my tech manuals. Hidden. Why? Maybe because old habits die hard. Somewhere deep down, there's still a faint glimmer of hope that one day they'll notice, that one day I won't have to beg for acknowledgement. But that's just an old wound whispering. Dad's voice echoes in my head again, sharp and unaffected. They haven't seen the late work nights, the promotions, the side projects I've poured myself into. Nope. All they see is their other kid. I'm always supposed to bow my head and make room in the spotlight for Eddie, their golden child. And now Eddie? Eddie gets a full-blown art gala, celebrated like he's a gift to the universe. Me? I get threats thrown my way if I don't show up to applaud. I set the mug on the counter harder than I meant to. If they want me there so bad, fine. I'll go. Not to grovel, not to try and earn one morsel of their validation. I'm going back to make them see me, whether they're ready for it or not. My fingers hover over the airline app as the thought takes root. My heart pounds, equal parts dread and determination swirling inside me. This time, I won't hide. This time, they'll see the person I've become, the person they wrote off years ago. The cold Seattle rain patters rhythmically against the windows as I sink into my couch. For a moment, the memories return, buzzing persistently in my mind. I was 10, the first time I felt it. The weight of being invisible. I'd just come home from the county fair, clutching the certificate I'd won for a coding contest. It wasn't anything fancy, just a basic game that took me weeks to figure out. But it felt like a win. My win. Running through the door, I couldn't wait to show them. Only as I stepped inside, my mom was busy pinning Eddie's latest finger painting, a sloppy, smeared mess of green and black, onto the fridge. "That's nice, honey," she mumbled when I waved my certificate in front of her face. Didn't even look up. Moments later, my dad was outside, hammering together a frame for one of Eddie's smudged sketches. I stood there, invisible, staring at my certificate. It seemed to wilt in my hands. At 15, I experienced another sting. I'd spent weeks perfecting a solar-powered water purifier for the school science fair, won first place. The shiny trophy gleamed like a beacon, bursting with possibility. I begged them to come see me present it. I tried so hard, but they couldn't make it. They were too busy cheering Eddie at his soccer game. He'd come in third. After the award ceremony, I trudged home on the bus, holding that damn trophy close to my chest. All I wanted was for someone to ask about it, to praise it, even just notice it. Instead, at dinner that night, the only thing they talked about was Eddie's team spirit. The ache became familiar then, like carrying a blade wrapped in silence. It didn't pierce all at once, just deep enough, little by little, every time they chose Eddie over me. By my senior year, though, I'd had enough. The day I received the news that I'd been accepted to the University of Washington on a full scholarship, my excitement burned so fierce I thought I'd explode. It felt surreal. Months of sleepless nights coding with an old, overheated laptop in the dimly lit trailer paying off. I showed my parents the acceptance letter with trembling hands, my heart catching in my throat. But my dad barely squinted at it. Wow, Bailey. That's far, huh? Eddie might feel bad if you leave like that. He's got community college lined up, you know, he remarked with an air of casual dismissal. We need you around, Mom added after a pause, nodding like it was obvious. Who'll help grab Eddie's art supplies or run errands if you're gone? I felt my face flush. The red-hot anger boiled, almost unbearable. But then the sharp chill of reality took over. What was the point? I nodded weakly, said nothing, and pretended they weren't slicing a piece out of me with every careless word. What I didn't tell them was that I wasn't planning to stay. That weekend, I printed out a fake schedule from a made-up local college, packed a single duffel bag, and bought a ticket for a bus heading straight to Seattle. Heart hammering in my chest, I left, desperate for something more. While they believed I was just down the road attending some no-name school, I was planting roots in a future they couldn't imagine. 2 days after leaving that dusty trailer behind, I stepped off the Greyhound bus and found myself surrounded by Seattle's bustling energy. It felt overwhelming and exhilarating, like I was finally stepping into the life I'd always wanted. I rented a small attic apartment above a bakery, not glamorous but mine, and dove headfirst into college, building a life in secret. I coded late into the night, lived off ramen, and kept my grades perfect. No one was cheering me on, but something inside pushed me to keep going anyway. That hidden rebellion lasted for years. My parents believed I was at a community college just a few miles away when, in reality, I was thriving at the University of Washington. I kept the lie going through vague texts and the occasional phone call, always careful not to reveal too much. By the time I graduated magna cum laude, I didn't even bother telling them about commencement. Why hand them the satisfaction of a moment they never earned? Now, standing in my Seattle loft, I glance over at my bookshelf where my diploma is buried behind coding manuals and notebooks. It doesn't feel like something worth showing off anymore, not when the people who were supposed to care the most never bothered to see it. All these years, I've carried that part of myself quietly, like a secret weapon waiting to be unsheathed at just the right time. But now they're forcing my hand. Eddie's shiny gallery invitation sits next to my laptop, the sleek card announcing his art show in big, bold letters. The whole thing feels like a slap in the face. For years, they've framed every single one of his messy, mediocre paintings like they were museum-worthy masterpieces. His so-called talent has been the family's crown jewel, the thing they brag about to anyone who'd listen. Meanwhile, my achievements, straight A's, scholarships, a thriving career at a top tech firm, were shoved aside, treated as nothing more than background noise. I run my finger along the edge of the invite, frustration bubbling just beneath the surface. While Dad and Mom were busy glorifying Eddie's scribbles, I taught myself to code at 14. I spent hours hunched over the library computers because our slow-as-hell dial-up couldn't load more than 2 pages without crashing. I figured out Python on my own, line by line, through trial and error. There were no cheers or proud smiles, just silence. Eddie, on the other hand, he got parades just for existing. He brought home third-place soccer ribbons, and they'd throw a mini celebration at the dinner table. His half-finished paintings earned glowing speeches from Mom to every neighbor in the damn trailer park. Meanwhile, I'd quietly submit perfect report cards, interning at tech companies while still in high school, and it barely registered that I was even in the room. I gripped my coffee mug tighter. That used to burn like hell, but now it's fuel. If they want me at this gallery so bad, fine, I'll go. But not to be invisible anymore. not to pretend I'm proud of yet another Eddie Fest while they pat themselves on the back for his brilliance. I'm done with that facade. This time I'll walk into that gallery as the person I've become, and if they can't handle it, that's their problem. I grab my phone and open the airline app. A flight to Reno lights up on the screen, and my pulse quickens. It's been years since I've been back to Nevada, since I've faced what I left behind. Even so, I know one thing for sure. This time, I'm not the same daughter who left their shadows behind. The dry Nevada heat hits me like a brick wall the moment I step off the plane. It's a stark contrast to the cool rain I left behind in Seattle, and it feels like I'm stepping into another lifetime. Renting a compact car, I make the familiar drive back toward the trailer park, each mile tugging at memories I've tried to bury for years. The closer I get, the more my stomach churns. Their world hasn't changed, I bet. And after all this time, neither has their view of me. As I pull into the dusty gravel lot in front of their faded aluminum trailer, I spot twinkle lights haphazardly strung on the porch. They're trying to class up the place for Eddie's big night. Typical. Before I even knock, the door swings open, and Mom's standing there, a nervous smile plastered on her face. "Good, you're here," she says briskly, shoving a to-do list into my hands. "We've got a lot to set up. Eddie wants the banner hung outside, and we still need ice for the refreshments." And just like that, I'm thrown back into the role of their family errand girl. No, how are you? No, it's been years. Just orders to get to work. I clench my jaw, swallowing the surge of bitterness that rises in my throat. It's the same old story. Before I can say anything, Dad steps out from the garage, wiping grease off his hands. His gaze sweeps over me for half a second before locking onto something behind me, something seemingly more important. "Tables need setting up inside for Eddie's display," he grunts, his tone flat. No welcome home, no warmth. Just another task added to the list. I nod mechanically, biting back every biting word that's threatening to escape. I could scream, tell them how infuriating it is to be treated this way, but what's the point? I take the list and head inside the trailer, where the familiar scent of paint fumes hangs in the air. Eddie's crappy canvases are propped against the walls like treasures. It's a shrine to him, always has been. While I'm sorting through the programs for Eddie's guests, he finally strolls in like he owns the place. His hair is perfectly tousled, and a smug grin is stretched across his face. Someone follows close behind, a sharply dressed man in his 30s, exuding the kind of slick charm that instantly sets me on edge. "Bailey, meet Victor," Eddie says grandly, like he's introducing me to royalty. "He's my agent." Victor thrusts out a hand, oozing confidence. "I've heard about you, the tech whiz," he says smoothly. "Seattle, right?" I nod tightly, scanning him with wary eyes. Victor launches into a speech filled with every buzzword imaginable. NFTs, exclusive art deals, private buyers. It's all syrupy sweet and just vague enough to sound suspicious. Dad, meanwhile, is eating it all up, practically hanging on Victor's every word. Eddie basks in the attention, grinning from ear to ear while I stand off to the side, watching the whole charade unfold. Then, casually as I can, I ask, "What's your platform for sales? Are you using blockchain or commissions?" Victor's smooth demeanor falters for just a split second before he recovers with a laugh. "Ah, proprietary stuff. Very niche. Hard to explain." He waves a dismissive hand like my question doesn't matter, but my gut tells me everything I need to know. It's vague, dodgy, and stinks of BS. Later, while the family's toasting with cheap beers over takeout pizza, I catch Victor and Dad leaning close, their voices just low enough to make me suspicious. "A fantastic opportunity," Victor purrs. Dad nods eagerly, his eyes gleaming with excitement. My stomach twists into a knot. Something's not adding up. My instincts, sharpened from years in tech, scream that this is more than just bad business. It's a full-blown hustle. The uneasy feeling in my gut only gets worse as the night drags on, and Victor's smooth talk fills every corner of the room. It's like watching someone sprinkle glitter over a pile of trash, shiny on the outside, but rotten underneath. Dad's practically buzzing around Victor like he's the second coming of Picasso, and Mom's flitting nervously between tasks, hanging on Victor's every word as if this guy holds the key to Eddie's future. To our family's future. But me? I can see through it. I've seen people like Victor before. all slippery smiles and big promises that never add up. I watch him carefully from the shadows, trying not to let my irritation show when he starts working the room like it's a performance. Meanwhile, Eddie's swagger only grows. He's so caught up in Victor's showmanship that he doesn't notice the cracks forming in his shiny new dream. Victor starts throwing around numbers again over dinner, talking about six-figure contracts and a game-changing investment for Eddie's next project. My dad's practically glowing with pride. Eddie's got big things coming, he says, his chest puffing out like a proud rooster. Mom nods in agreement, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. Then Victor drops this bomb without even blinking. To really push Eddie's vision, we use some collateral to secure a deal. He grins victoriously. Grandma's pearl necklace. It fetched $5,000 for startup funds. The room freezes. Grandma's pearls. Mom's eyes widen. Her hand shoots up to her neck, fingers ghosting the spot where that necklace should have been. You said it was for a photo shoot, she whispers, her voice tremulous. You promised it was just temporary. Victor waves her off with a charming smile. A necessary sacrifice for Eddie's benefit. Trust me, it's worth it. The words roll off his tongue so smoothly it almost sounds convincing. Almost. But I'm frozen, every nerve on edge, my mind racing wildly. That necklace wasn't just jewelry. It was one of the last things left of Nana, passed down through our family, heavy with meaning. And now it's gone. Sold off like a trinket for some hollow promise, gone without a shred of thought or care. Mom's face crumples, and I see it for the first time. The doubt. The subtle flicker in her eyes that something isn't right. I want to scream, to call this out right here and now, but I know I need to play the long game. Victor is good at this. I can already tell. If I go charging in, he'll simply brush me off as bitter or jealous, the skeptical younger sister trying to sabotage Eddie's vision. So instead, I bite my tongue. I can feel the growing lump of frustration in my throat as I watch him spin more webs, one silky, deceitful thread after another. Some of the guests head out after dinner, leaving us with just the family and Victor, who is moving on to discussing Eddie's pre-sold artwork. Another masterpiece, apparently, is set to fetch $15,000 up front. Eddie is soaking it all in, his grin blinding as he tilts his head back and laughs. But I catch Victor slipping cash to a shady-looking man across the lot, his movements quick and deliberate. No paperwork, no contracts, just a wad of bills and a nod. My pulse quickens. This isn't just a bad deal, it's a scam. Back at the trailer that night, I lie in bed staring at the cracked ceiling above me. Victor's smug face looms in my mind, louder than my thoughts. I know his type. I've spent the last decade spotting patterns, tracking cybersecurity breaches, tearing down fraud scams piece by piece, but here I'm stuck. The people I'm trying to protect don't even trust me. Worse, they believe in him. It's maddening. I roll out of bed quietly and slip outside, the cool desert night brushing against my skin as I sit in the rental car, firing up my laptop. The Wi-Fi at the trailer is predictably terrible, but I tether my phone to get just enough signal. Victor Miles isn't his real name. I can feel it in my bones. So, I dig. It doesn't take long before I hit pay dirt, and my stomach twists in disgust. Turns out Victor Miles goes by several names. Victor Tate, Victor Lang, Victor Palmer. He's connected to a string of shady art scams across multiple states. Fake sales, stolen money, forged promises. Every time he disappears before anyone can hold him accountable, popping up in a new town to start over with a fresh set of victims. My hands shake as I screenshot profiles, forum posts, reports from furious families left in debt after falling for his slick con. He's good. Too good. And now he's got his claws deep in my family. The next morning, I sit across from Dad at the shabby kitchen table, my laptop open, armed with evidence. Mom stands by the counter, her gaze darting nervously between us. Eddie hasn't come out of his room yet, but I know he'll storm in soon enough. Victor's not who you think he is. I push the screenshots across the table toward Dad, my voice calm but firm. He's a con artist. He's been scamming people for years, Dad. Look, these are victims, families in other towns. He's done this before. Dad barely glances at the paper, his jaw tightening. That's enough, Bailey, he says, his voice low and defensive. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. My voice rises sharply before I catch myself forcing it back down. He's using you. He's not going to help Eddie. He's going to wipe you out. Dad slams his hand on the table, his face turning red. You're just jealous. Eddie finally has someone who believes in him, and you can't stand it. Before I can respond, Eddie marches into the kitchen, already bristling with anger. What the hell is this? He demands, snatching the papers off the table. He flips through the pages dismissively, his expression hardening with every second. You're trying to ruin this for me, aren't you? You can't stand to see me succeed. My jaw drops. Eddie, this isn't about... Save it. He cuts me off, tossing the papers onto the table like they're worthless. You've always hated that people admire me. You think you're better than me, don't you? Just because you have some tech job and a fancy apartment. You think I want to spend my time digging up dirt on Victor for fun? I snap back, anger flaring. I'm trying to save you from getting screwed over. But Eddie's wall is up, and there's no breaking through. Mom wrings her hands by the counter, her lips pressed into a thin line. Dad stares at me like I'm the problem, his disappointment cutting in a way that feels all too familiar. I realize in that moment that I've lost them. They don't want to hear it. They'd rather go down in flames with Victor's lies than believe a word I say. The weight in my chest feels unbearable as I grab my keys and storm out of the trailer. The desert wind stings my face as I lean against the rental car, my breaths coming fast and sharp. I try to shake off the anger, the sadness, but both cling to me like a second skin. All I've ever wanted was for them to see me, to believe me. But they never do, not when it counts. The only thing I can do now is prepare for the fallout, because I know it's coming, and when it does, they'll finally see the truth, whether they like it or not. 2 days later, my prediction comes true. It's early morning, and I'm stretched out in a cheap motel bed, stale air filling the room and my laptop humming softly on the desk nearby. I've barely gotten any sleep, my mind twisted in knots about the situation back home. I stare at the cracked ceiling, wondering why I even bothered coming back, why I'm still trying to fix something that's so obviously broken. Then my phone starts to buzz. The vibrations rattle loudly against the cheap particle board nightstand, jolting me upright. The screen lights up with 14 missed calls, Dad, Mom, and Eddie all blowing up my phone. Text messages come in one after the other like an avalanche. From Dad, Elise, he's gone. From Mom, I don't know what to do. He took everything. From Eddie, you were right. I'm sorry. Please help us. I sit up, gripping the phone tightly as a voicemail comes in next. It's Dad's voice, thick with panic and heartbreak, raw and cracked in a way I've never heard before. Elise, he's gone. Victor cleaned us out. All the gallery money. Everything. The auction. It's all a lie. Call us, please. My stomach sinks, the grim satisfaction I'd felt earlier replaced with a heavy ache. I swipe to the next voicemail, this time from Mom. Her voice is trembling, teetering on the edge of tears. The bank froze our account. There are overdrafts, transfers we didn't authorize. We're ruined, Elise. I don't know what to do. Please, just call us when you see this. I toss the phone down on the mattress, burying my head in my hands as the weight of their words crashes over me. This is what I knew would happen. I'd seen it coming from miles away, but they refused to listen. Now, they're turning to me, but not out of love or trust. They're calling because they have no one else. And as much as I want to leave them to deal with the mess they made, I know I can't. Not entirely. I exhale sharply, pulling myself together. If there's anything years in tech have taught me, it's how to keep a level head in chaos. My feelings don't matter right now. I grab my laptop and sit at the tiny hotel desk, staring at the glowing screen. I need to act fast to salvage what's left before Victor vanishes completely. By the time I arrive back at the trailer later that day, the mood is nothing short of apocalyptic. The tables and banners from Eddie's failed gallery show are still scattered outside, half blown over by the desert wind. A few sagging streamers dangle from the porch, deflated remnants of the grand spectacle that was supposed to change everything. Mom looks like she hasn't slept in days. Her eyes are rimmed red, and she's twisting her hands as she opens the door. "You came back," she whispers, her voice small, almost disbelieving. "Yeah, I'm here," I reply stiffly, stepping past her into the cramped living room. The air inside feels suffocating, thick with tension and regret. Dad is at the kitchen table, staring at an open ledger like it holds the answers to all his problems. When he sees me, his expression flickers between relief and shame. "The cops said there's not much they can do," he mutters, gesturing to a stack of disorganized papers. "No contracts, just handshakes. Victor knew how to cover his tracks." Of course he did. I cross my arms, forcing myself to speak calmly. "How much did he take?" Dad exhales through his nose, his jaw tight. "Over $20,000. And he took the money from the fake auction, too. Your mom gave him Nana's necklace. Said he'd use it to generate buzz. It's all gone." His voice cracks on the last word, and he quickly looks away. I nod, my jaw clenched so tightly it hurts. It's not just the money or the necklace. It's everything. The lies, the blind trust, the refusal to see what was right in front of them. And now they're looking to me to fix it. Mom and Dad exchange a glance, their unspoken question hanging in the air. "Can you help us?" Eddie slouches on the worn couch, looking utterly defeated. His usual smugness has evaporated, leaving behind someone who feels hollow. "I don't know what to do," he says quietly, not meeting my eyes. "I messed everything up. Again." The words hang there, heavy and raw. For a split second, I feel an ache of sympathy for Eddie, for all of them. But it's immediately drowned out by the reminder of how many chances I've given them before, only to be brushed off and dismissed every time. I drop my bag by the door, exhaling sharply. "Here's the deal," I say, my voice steady and direct. "I'll hire a fraud investigator to dig into Victor's accounts. I'll cover the overdraft fees to stop the bank from completely burying you. But that's it. I'm not bailing you out beyond that." Dad straightens, narrowing his eyes. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," I snap, my patience fraying, "that you've got to figure out the rest. I'm not here to clean up your entire mess." Mom's lip trembles. "But we're family, Elise." "Family doesn't listen, right?" I shoot back bitterly. "I warned you over and over, but you refused to believe me. You'd rather believe a con man than your own daughter." The room goes silent. Eddie shifts uncomfortably on the couch, guilt etched on his face. "If you'd pushed harder," he starts, but I cut him off. "Don't even go there," I snap, my voice sharper than I meant. I tried everything, but you didn't want to hear it. You called me jealous. Remember that? You wanted someone to blame, so you chose me." The air in the trailer feels heavier than ever, and for once, no one has a snappy comeback. By the time I leave, dusk has settled over the trailer park. I stop at the edge of the driveway, glancing back at the rundown aluminum walls. For years, this place felt like a prison, like it was suffocating any chance I had to grow. And now, it's nothing more than a fading memory. I'll help them out just enough keep them afloat because I have to. Not because they listened or because they'll ever appreciate it, but because it's who I am. I'm not them, and I don't want to be. So I'll deliver the help they need on my terms, and then I'll walk away for good. Climbing into the rental car, I take one last look at the trailer. Inside, my parents and Eddie are scrambling to pick up the pieces of their broken dream. It's sad, in its own way, but I can't carry their weight anymore. As I drive back to the motel, the desert stretches endlessly in every direction, and for the first time in years, I feel like I can finally see clearly. They'll never fully see me for who I am. And you know what? That's okay. They don't need to. I know who I am now, and I'm done letting them define me. A year has passed since I walked away from the wreckage of Eddie's failed gallery show. In that time, I've filled my life with things that matter, things that are mine. The Nevada desert feels like a distant memory now, like an old scar I don't even recognize anymore. I've let it all go, the weight of their expectations, the years of being invisible, the endless attempts to prove myself to people who never truly saw me. My small house in Tacoma, Washington, is quiet as I sit in my home office, the morning light pouring through the skylight onto my desk. The space is modest, but all mine. A modest wood-floored cottage with a little porch and a yard where I've planted marigolds, their bright yellows and oranges blooming against a blanket of green. They were Nana's favorite flower, but it feels like I've reclaimed them for myself. Above my desk hangs my degree, proudly displayed for the first time. Bailey Michelle Graves, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, magna cum laude. For years I kept it hidden, too afraid to show it because it didn't seem like something they'd value. Or worse, I didn't value it because they didn't. Now, it's the first thing I see when I sit down to work every day. It reminds me of where I've been and all that I've clawed my way through to get here. The laptop hums quietly as I work through my calendar. Today is no ordinary day. It's a big one. Tonight, I'm being honored at a tech gala. My mentorship program, the one I started for young girls interested in STEM careers, is being recognized, and for the first time in my life, there won't be an empty seat in my section. My chosen family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, will fill every seat. They're the people who've supported me, who've cheered for me without conditions or ultimatums. There's no need to wonder if Mom and Dad would come. I haven't extended the invite. They only reach out when they need something, and selfishly or not, I've set my boundary. I'm no longer their backup plan. The only reminder of them these days comes from one person, Aunt Lynn. Her monthly text messages, short and to the point, keep me updated on the fallout from their missteps. From Lynn. Jay's painting at the flea market. Your dad's scrapping old cars, and your mom picked up a waitressing shift. Therapy's spotty, no calls your way. I read the texts when they come in, but I barely react anymore. This is their lane, their life, their consequences. I played my part. I wired enough to cover the overdrafts, hired a fraud investigator to submit a report with the police, and even helped them fight the worst of the bank's penalties. But I didn't replace what they lost. I didn't send them money to start over. They didn't deserve that chance, and quite honestly, I deserved better than to fix it all for them. Victor, of course, disappeared into thin air. We never uncovered much beyond a trail of dead accounts and overseas transfers. He's likely out there now, running the same con on some other unsuspecting family, spinning his same web of lies. It doesn't hit me as hard as it used to. I did what I could, what anyone could. The rest is on them. The first girl I mentored comes to mind as I finish my coffee. Priya, just 16 years old, brown curls bouncing as she shyly grinned during our first meeting. 3 months ago, she barely believed she could compete in the male-dominated field of programming. Now, she's just aced her first coding competition, designing an app to monitor water quality for her community. I told them I could do it, she said over video chat the other day, her eyes sparkling with confidence. Thanks to you. I'd laughed gently. You did that, Priya, not me, own it. Watching her light up with pride reminded me of something I hadn't felt for years, a sense of purpose. The young girls I mentor, the ones who look up to me, don't see the shadow I used to be. They see me now for who I've become, and they're inspired to start breaking through the barriers in their own lives. They'll never know how much I needed them to. Pouring my energy into lifting them up has helped me heal in ways I didn't think possible. The phone pings on the counter, breaking the silence. Another quick message from Lynn pops up. This month's update, Eddie's sold a piece, $200. Dad got paid for some scrap work. Mom says she's trying meditation. I just glance at it, exhaling softly before tucking the phone into my pocket. The updates are nice, but I don't need them anymore. I've disconnected from the endless cycle of hoping they'll change or see me differently. They can live their lives and I'll live mine, separate and untangled. It doesn't matter anymore what they think of me, and for the first time in forever, that feels okay. That evening, I stand in front of the mirror, shrugging on an emerald green blazer that Priya jokingly called my power jacket. Fair enough, it does make me feel powerful. I run a hand over its clean lines and take a steadying breath. The past year has been one of growth, healing, and reclaiming everything they tried to bury. When I walk into that gala tonight, the audience won't see someone longing for approval. They'll see a woman who turned years of being overlooked into strength, carving out success for herself and giving it back to those who need it most. They'll see me, and not the shadow of Eddie or anyone else. I grab my bag and head to the door, stopping only to water the marigolds blooming just outside. The air smells fresh and alive in the twilight. They grow where you plant them, I think. My fingers brushing soft petals. That's how I see myself these days. Resilient, rooted, no longer swayed by the storms that once tore me apart. I may have come from that broken desert home, but I don't live in its shadows anymore. I've grown past it, taller and steadier than I ever thought possible. As the sun sets, painting the sky in streaks of orange and pink, I step out confidently toward what's next. Tomorrow, the past will remain exactly where it belongs, behind me. And tonight? Tonight, I'll stand tall in the light I've built for myself. If this story stirred anything in you, drop your thoughts below. A simple like fuels me to keep sharing these journeys. Thank you for walking this path with me.